Hey guys, welcome back to the channel Nate's Pink Bookshelf. My name is Nate Denise for those of you who are new to the channel or who just happened to stumble across this video. And today's video is going to be my August book haul. So I have about 25-ish books here to share with you guys. Mainly books that I purchased, and then I do have a few review books that were sent to me. So I'm going to start off with, I guess, the review books first. So let's move this stack over here because that's another set of books. So I'm going to start off with review books. So the first three are actually going to be Christian fiction books. So this first one is Christian historical fiction. It's by Jane Kirkpatrick and it's called Something Worth Doing, a novel of an early suffragist. And here's what the cover looks like. Honestly, this was a cover request. They are having a block tour for this, which I did sign up for, and it sounded like it was going to be interesting. It takes place in 1853 following Abigail Scott, who is a 19-year-old school teacher in Oregon Territory when she married Ben Dunaway. Marriage meant giving up on teaching, but Abigail always believed that she was meant to be more than a good wife and a mother. So when Abigail becomes the primary breadwinner for her growing family, what she sees as a working woman appalls her and prompts her to devote her life to fighting for the rights of women, including the right to vote. So some things are worth doing even when the cost is great. So that sounds really interesting, and I'm super excited. It says it's based on a true story. Something Worth Doing will resonate with modern women who still grapple with the pull between career and family, finding their place in the public sphere, and dealing with the frustrations and prejudices when competing in a male-dominated space. So this sounds like it's going to be interesting. I'm excited to read this. So we have this one. Okay, so this next one is also going to be historical fiction, but it's more so considered biblical fiction. And biblical fiction is basically a biblical retelling. So it's taking a biblical story from the actual Bible and retelling it with fiction. So it's called biblical fiction. And this one is called Journey to the Well by Diana Wallace Taylor, and it's basically about the Samaritan woman at the well before she meets Jesus. And yeah, I'm excited for this because I do love the book of John in the Bible, and I'm excited to see how Diana Wallace Taylor takes that scenario and forms it and weaves it into a fictional story. So we have this. Then the last one is going to be a Christian suspense. I know nothing about this, but I saw the author's name and I have read a book from her and I know her father's work. So I decided to sign up for this blog tour, and it's called 9 by Rachelle Dekker. I have read The Girl Behind the Red Rope, written by her and her father, Ted Dekker. And I know that Ted Dekker is well known for his Christian sci-fi, Christian fantasy. So I'm super excited to dive into this. It basically says some secrets can't stay hidden. Zoe Johnson has spent most of her life living in the shadows, never drawing attention to herself, never investing in people or places. But when a wide-eyed, bedraggled teenager with no memory walks into the diner where Zoe works, everything changes. Against her better judgment, Zoe, who has been trying to outrun her own painful memories of the past, finds herself attempting to help a girl who doesn't seem to have any past at all. With little warning, they must follow the only sure thing they know. A woman hundreds of miles away will either save them or be the last person to see them alive. So it sounds really interesting. Like I said, I did read The Girl Behind the Red Rope and I gave that book a 4.5 rating. I think 4.5 out of 5-star rating. Thoroughly enjoyed it. So I'm super excited to see how she writes on her own, because with her father she did a phenomenal job. So I'm excited for this. Okay, so now moving on to the review books that I was sent from publishing companies. The first two are from Shadow Mountain Publication. They did reach out to me. I've been working with them now for about a year and some change, and I mainly get either historical fictions or I get my middle grades from them. Really great middle grade reads. I have gotten some contemporaries here and there, but mainly middle grades and historical fiction. So the first one is Georgana's Secret by Arlem. This book comes out January 2021, and it sounds interesting. It's basically a story that contrasts the gentility of Jane Austen's regency with ship life in the Royal Navy. It follows the journey of a woman named Georgana Woodall trying to fit into a man's world. And the guy name is Lieutenant Dominic Peyton. So it's a Regency romance on the high seas set in 1811. That's all I know. And she disguises herself as a cabin boy. So that sounds like it's going to be interesting. So we have this one, and I like the cover. The cover is really simplistic and nice. Okay, so the next one is going to be A Captain for Caroline Gray by Julie Wright. It comes out March 2021. So I have read from Julie Wright before. I've read 3 of her adult contemporary romances and they were pretty great. So I'm excited to see how she does with historical fiction or historical Regency romances. This one basically includes the social setting of a Regency season in London but set on the high seas. It features a strong, progressive female protagonist named Caroline Gray, and it's a forbidden love story between her and Captain Thomas Scott. She's basically supposed to be marrying some guy in India, but she decides she wants to marry the captain. So I'm interested to see how this goes. And again, the cover on this is really nice. So the next book we have is going to be South of the Buttonwood Tree by Heather Weber, and this is going to be adult magical realism with a Southern charm twist to it. And basically you follow, what are their names, Blue Bishop and Sarah Fulton, in their journey within their sort of town, and they end up coming across this baby at the Buttonwood Tree and learning different things about the women in their town and the magical abilities that they have, pretty much. So we have this book. Next, I have Roaring by Lindsay Duga. This is going to be YA/new adult historical fantasy, and this is set in the 1920s, but with mobsters and monsters. So there are paranormal beings into the story, and one of the main characters is actually going to be the last siren in the world. I believe she's the last siren in the world, and it's pretty much epic. With this, I did get it signed from the author because it was sent to me for a blog tour review, so we have it signed, and I also got some extra goodies. So I did get some stickers of Cult, and I cannot remember the female character's name for the life of me. What is her name? Iris. It's E-R-I-S. It's on the screen. That's her name. But that is a image of the two of them. And again, Iris is a siren. And then you have the actual like cover image, which is really pretty. It also came with a bookmark on it. It says he was the kind of thrill a person would want to be brave for. Again, you have an image of Cult and Iris. Don't know how you say it. And then the back looks like that. I will laminate this. Then I have 3 sort of art images, which I think is really dope. So the art is by, I don't want to say this person's name wrong, so I'm gonna show you guys there. The art is by that person. But here's the first image, and mine's came a little bent up, but that doesn't bother me. I will laminate these, of course. Here is the second one, which I think is my favorite. I love his face. His face is so funny, and I really love her dress in this one. But I love that. And it also came with another like card, but this one talks about 2 of her other books called Glow of the Firefly, excuse me. Glow of the Fireflies, and then Kiss of the Royals, which I'm assuming they go together. I'm not really sure. But yeah, I am interested in checking out more of her work. But again, this is Roaring by Lindsay Duga. It is new adult/YA historical fantasy set in the 1920s with mobsters and monsters, and like I said, one of the main characters is going to be a siren. So we have this. The last review book that I have for you guys is going to be The Inheritance Games by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. It says she came from nothing, they have everything, let the games begin. So this is going to be YA mystery, and it's sort of a mashup of Cinderella with One of Us is Lying as well as Knives Out. I have not seen Knives Out, but I am interested in watching that movie. But yeah, basically Avery is listed in the will of some rich man named Tobias Hawthorne, and she is giving everything. He is a billionaire. She's given everything. The only kind of trick is she has to live at the mansion with his 4 grandsons, and one of the grandsons is very adamant that she kind of snuck her way into the will, whereas the other ones just really don't care too much, and she does fall in love with one of the characters. So it's pretty much going to be a mystery with some romance, and I'm super excited to dive into this. Okay, so the next few books are going to be from book boxes, and this first one is going to be Darkness of Light by Stacey Marie Brown. It's from the Darkness series. I don't know how long the series is, but it is a new adult series all about dark fae. I did get this from one of my Jean Book Nerd Storytellers boxes, so I will just leave the link. You can click the I to go watch that video, but we have this. Next, we have my August picks from Book of the Month. I do have a Book of the Month unboxing already, so you guys can just click the I to go watch it. But we have Home Before Dark by Riley Sager. I love this cover. I don't know why. I'm not really big on yellows and greens, but this cover is like really nice. And this is supposed to be like a thriller horror book. I don't really remember. All I know is that the main character used to live in this like haunted house with her family, and then her father quickly moved them out, wrote a book about the house, and then as an adult she decided to go back to the house to see if what was written in the book was true, and things start to happen again just like it is written in the book. And I've heard really good things about this story, so I'm excited to try it out. The next book is going to be YA fantasy, and it's basically Hindu mythology based, and it's called Star Daughter by this author. I don't want to butcher, but what I remember from the synopsis, because I'm not going to read the synopsis, is basically that the main character is part human, part star. Her mother has returned back into the sky, and she lives with her father. She injures her father somehow, and something like starfire or starlight is the only thing that can cure him, so she must go back into the celestial realm. But when she is there, her celestial family wants her to enter into some competition or something of the sort. So yeah, it sounds interesting. The cover is gorgeous, and I'm interested in some new mythology books, so we have this one. Last one is also YA fantasy, but Persian-based mythology, and I believe it's based on the story of the girl with the poisonous touch, and it's called Girl, Serpent, Thorn by Melissa Bashradoust. I hope I'm saying that right. But I know that this does have LGBTQ plus rep in it, so I'm excited to dive into this, and I love the cover. I love these peonies. I think these are peonies. I think I'm probably wrong on that, but if I'm wrong, I'll put the right flower on the screen. But I love it. We have Booksnake again because Booksnake is everywhere, but that's okay. I'm excited. It looks like a really thin book, and I've heard mixed reviews about this book, but I'm excited to see where I fall on the spectrum. So we have this. Okay, and then I have two more piles of books. One book pile is going to be books that I got from Barnes & Nobles, and the other pile is going to be books from Amazon. So I know there's this whole thing on BookTube about not using Amazon, but there was a booktuber that made a video basically saying how people not using Amazon is sort of a privilege for them. And I will leave her video, just click the eye to go watch her video, because in her video I really liked what she was saying and I agreed with what she was saying. I don't work. And I'm a stay-at-home mom, so when I do want books, I either go to Barnes & Nobles or I have to resort to Amazon. I know that Amazon sells books at cheaper prices, obviously, and they also do sort of skimp out on paying authors in whatever the case may be, but with my funds and my living situation, I do have to resort to Amazon. Now, most of the time, I'm not ordering from their Amazon warehouse. I'm ordering through their marketplace, so I'm ordering from either Better World Books, World Books USA, Thrift Books, and I cannot remember the other user, but I use about 4 or 5 different companies through their Amazon marketplace. I know I could just order off of Thrift Books, obviously, but I don't know. I just order through Amazon because it's quicker and it's easier for me to do so. So that's my little spiel, because I know someone might say something about me using Amazon, but again, if you want my thoughts fully, just go watch that video, because that booktuber really like explained everything and how I felt in it, if that makes sense. So yeah, starting off with Barnes & Noble. So first book I got is The Poppy War by R. Kuang. This is going to be adult fantasy, and this is based off of Chinese history. It is Chinese based, and I'm excited for this. I've heard many people talk about this so many times. They say it's really hard-hitting, it will make you cry. I heard about the main character, I think her name is Ren. Yeah, I've heard about Ren so many times, so I'm super excited to dive into this book. I wanted to get the hardcovers because I like how they look white with that pop of color, but I kind of like that this is orange. So I'm hoping, I think the sequel has blue, like it's white and blue, so I don't know if the paperback is going to be like blue with the white and black writing. I'm not sure, but I am excited to start this because I know the last book is coming out in the trilogy. So yeah, I'm super stoked for this. Next book I got is Serpent and Dove by Shelby Mahurin. I've heard so many people rave about this book and how amazing it is. Kind of like a guilty pleasure, and I'm all here for those guilty pleasure books. So I am excited to dive into this. All I know is that it's a hate to love story between a witch and a witch hunter, and they are forced to marry each other pretty much, and I'm interested to see where this goes and how I feel about it. So we have this, and I know the sequel is Blood and Honey. It's already out. I've seen it. I was gonna get both, but I decided to just get book 1 just in case I don't care for it. But if I do at least give this a 4 stars, I will definitely be picking up the sequel. So we have this book. The next book I got is going to be adult fantasy, and it's by K.S. Villoso. It's The Wolf of Oren-Yaro. I think that's how you say that. And it's the first book in the Chronicles of the Bee Queen. I'm not going to say the word, but it says, "They call me the Bee Queen, the she-wolf, because I murdered a man and exiled my king the night before they crowned me." Like, that's all I needed. When I heard about that, I was like, we here for it. Then it further says, "From an incredible new voice in epic fantasy comes a tale of a queen who must unite her divided land, even if she's hated by the very people she's trying to protect." So pretty much she marries this guy and exiles him at the same time to save the kingdom or something like that. So I'm excited. I know that the sequel is already out, so if I am loving this, I'm picking up the sequel immediately. But we have this cover is just straight fire. I love the cover art on this. So pretty, and that dagger I'm here for. So I'm excited to really like get into this book real soon. Okay, so the next book is going to be YA fantasy, and that's going to be A Song of Wraiths and Ruin by Roseanne A. Brown. This is going to be West African inspired fantasy, and I'm super excited. I heard that this is basically a fantasy novel where the princess and the guy are basically going to try to marry each other to kill one another. She has to kill him to save her mother, and he has to kill her to save his sister, but then they fall in love. So it's kind of like a enemies to lovers type of story. I've heard that this is magically written. This is actually going to be read this month because I am reading this for the Royal Readathon. This is actually the group book for that, and also going to be the book club books for the Black Hotties as well as the Crusty book club. So I'm super stoked to dive into this book soon. Next book we have is Lobizona by Romina Garber, and I have already started this book. Not the physical copy. I've started the e-arc. I got about 70-80% through, but never got a chance to finish it, so I decided to grab a physical copy because I was thoroughly enjoying it. It is YA fantasy that is based off of Argentina, and it is amazing. This is paranormal, so there are werewolves involved, and I was thoroughly enjoying the writing and the worlds and everything about it. This cover is gorgeous to me, and I love the end pages so much. And under the dust jacket is really pretty. If it was gold foiling, that would have been better, but I really like it a lot. So I'm glad that I got a physical copy of this because, like I said, I read the e-arc and was thoroughly enjoying it, and I want to finish it, so I'm going to start from the beginning and annotate as I read. So we have Lobizona. Last book I got from Barnes & Noble is going to be Raybearer by Ifueko. I hope I'm saying that right, but I saw Joel's review on this, and you can just click the eye to go watch that. I saw his review, and it just sounded even more interesting. I was already interested in it, and then I watched his review and was like sold on it, so I picked up a copy. I love the foiling on this book. So pretty. I love the artwork front and back. Under the dust jacket is just as pretty, and then the mat is gorgeous as well. So I'm excited to dive into this. This is African-based fantasy. I don't know exactly, like, you know, where it's based, but I know for a fact that it is African inspired fantasy, and I'm excited. It says, what if you have sworn to protect the one you were born to destroy? That just sounds, I mean, if that doesn't sound delicious, I don't know what does. So I'm excited to dive into this. I do have the audiobook as well from NetGalley, so I'm excited to read along while listening to the audiobook. Okay, last few books I got from Amazon. So the first two I'm actually in the middle of reading. I will be finishing this one right here, and it's called Foundry Side by Robert Jackson Bennett. This is the first book in the Founders trilogy. I am currently reading this. I am on page, no, I'm not on that page. What page am I on? I'm on page 378, and I am enjoying this, but I feel like it's gonna be a 4-star read for me. I'm enjoying Sancha, I'm enjoying Gregor, I think that's how you say his name, Gregor, and Clef, but this is more of an internal dialogue kind of book, and I'm more of character interactions. I like when my characters interact. The characters interact, but it's a lot more of internal thinking and internal dialogue, which I am not too big on. But I love Clef, I think that's how you say his name. He is comical. I like the magic system and the whole idea of scribing. That is quite intriguing, but everything else is kind of like dull. So it's not a 3-star. It might be a really low 4, but we'll see. I plan to finish this today, so we'll see by the end of this book how I'm feeling. But yeah, we have Foundry Side, and this is going to be epic fantasy, I believe it's epic fantasy. So yeah, the other book that I got that I'm actually currently reading is The Hero of Ages by Brandon Sanderson. We're not even gonna talk about this book because I'm reading it now. I have tabbed it. I still need to go in at the rest of my tabs. I am 376 pages into this book. I'll be finishing it up in 2 more days. There are no words to describe how I feel about Ellen and Vin. The whole thing about Kelsier, I was hoping but wasn't expecting at the same time, and I kind of spoiled myself for the end because I like flipped to the end of the book, so I know what happens to Vin and Ellen. So yeah, I kind of spoiled myself, but that's okay. I'm trying to finish this Mistborn Era 1 up because I will be diving into the Way of Kings soon. The Stormlight Archives, especially with the Rhythm of War being released in November. So the secret behind the Kolos, just the Khandra, just everything, and the Mist and Ruin is annoying. Preservation, I'm still not sure how I feel because I don't really understand preservation. I get ruined, but preservation is mentioned. I don't really like understand the concept of it, but I'm only 370 odd pages in. I really can't tell you too much about this because this is a third book in the series / trilogy, but it basically follows Ben and Ellen after the event of the Well of Ascension, pretty much, and it's epic fantasy, so we're leaving it there. Okay, the next book I actually got for the Busy Bee Book Club, because this is going to be the November pick, right? Yeah, the November pick, and it's going to be The Sword of Kaigen by M.L. Wong. And I've heard so many things about this from so many people, and I'm excited that this is actually the book club pick. This was self-published, so I did have to get it off of Amazon, and my book did come a little damaged, but I put some tape on it. It doesn't bother me. This is a hefty book. But there is a cast of characters at the back, which I am excited. Oh my god, that looks like a lot of characters. So there's cast of characters as well as a glossary, and it's Asian inspired. I don't know exactly like where. Don't know. I'll put it on the screen, but I do know that this is Asian inspired fantasy. So I'm here for it. I'm ready for it. Not gonna read it until November, but I decided to get it now while I could. Next book I got is The Still Crow Saga by Paul Kruger, and this is going to be adult epic fantasy, but it's also going to have LGBTQ plus rep. Now, the thing with this book is I did read it already. I read it earlier in the year for the Asian Readathon. I rated it at a 4 or 4.5 or something like that on Goodreads. I read the ebook while listening to the audiobook. Honestly, I kid you not, I don't remember anything that happened because during the Asian Readathon, I was reading books so quickly that I never took the time to sit and write my reviews. So I read a lot of books, don't remember my thoughts, so I plan to reread this, which is why I did get a physical copy. All I know is that this followed 4 characters, right? Yeah, a soldier, a prince, a detective, and a thief. And the magic system was really, really intriguing, and I enjoyed the romances. That's pretty much all that I remember. Honestly, not gonna lie, like I said, I did rate it. I believe I gave it a 4.5 or 4-star rating on Goodreads. My Goodreads review, I'll link it down below because I don't remember if I even wrote anything. So I decided to just get it again, and now that I'm looking at the cover, I always thought that this was just water. I didn't realize that there were like actual animals on the cover. So this looks like a bird of some sort here with the beak. This looks like a grasshopper. You have a wolf or a fox. Is that a fox or a wolf? I don't know. And then you have a rat. And I know that that has to do with the story. I just don't remember because, like I said, I read it really quickly during the Asian Readathon. So I'm excited to dive back in. It was a hot mess of drama, but it was good. So I'm excited to go back into reading the Still Crow Saga. And what I don't get is the hardcover looks massive, but the paperback is really thin, which is why I prefer paperbacks because hardcovers be doing the most, but I digress. I'm excited to reread this book. Okay, so the second to last book is going to be by N.K. Jemisin, and it's going to be The 100,000 Kingdoms. It's the first book in her Inheritance trilogy. Now, I know that I could just have bought the bind-up, but I want the individual books. But yeah, I know nothing at all about this book. Nothing at all except that it's fantasy. I'm on a mission to own every copy of her book physically because I have read 2. I read the 5th season, which I did enjoy. I just wasn't a fan of the second person point of view. That was a little polarizing to get into, but I did enjoy it. And then I read The City We Became, which as a New Yorker born and raised, I loved it all the way. I just thought the ending was anticlimactic. So I decided I wanted to own all of her books. I did go and get the Obelisk Gate, which is I believe the second book in the Broken Earth trilogy, and then I wanted to go ahead and grab this book. I'm going to pick up her duology as well and her anthology. I am looking on Get It. I do own them on ebooks, but I want physical copies because her writing is amazing. It's lyrical, it's lush, it's beautiful. Again, I know nothing about this. On the back it says that she weaves a tale of intrigue, betrayal, and passion in a kingdom above the clouds. I'm not sure if they're gods and goddesses or if they're just people with magical abilities, but I'm interested and I'm gonna go into this completely blind. Alright, the last book on this haul is a hefty one. She big, she thick, she is just monstrous, and I am terrified of her. But I am going to be tackling the first book in this series, so I'm so excited, and that is going to be Words of Radiance by Brandon Sanderson. It's book 2 in the Stormlight Archive. I will be tackling, fingers crossed, The Way of Kings, if not towards the end of the month, then early October. I know that the 4th book in the series, Rhythm of War, is coming out in November, and Becca from Becca in the Books is hosting a Stormlight Archive read along. They are planning to read the Way of Kings this month, excuse me. But because I am in the middle of the Hero of Ages, I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to get into the Way of Kings. The Way of Kings is 1,007 pages. We're not going to talk about it. We're just not. It's 1,007 pages. Yes, I counted. This book is sitting at 1,097. So these are some hefty books. I did own the first book in paperback. I owned the third book in hardcover, but I needed a copy of the second book, and I didn't want to get the mass market paperbacks because I'm realizing that mass markets are not that great depending on the type of paper they use. Because I know for my Mistborn book, The Final Empire is the name of the first book, but it's called Mistborn on my copy. For some reason, that copy has like been ripping out of the book, unfortunately. So I will eventually upgrade to the actual copy that I have for like the Hero of Ages and Well of Ascension. Eventually, I'll upgrade to that. But yeah, I looked at the mass market paperbacks, and I wasn't here for it. Then I own the hardcover for Oathbringer. No, so I said I was just gonna get the paperbacks for the first and second book, and I love it because it's floppy. Really floppy. And one thing I love is that there are art pictures throughout, like images that go along with the story throughout. If I can get to one. So like throughout, you're gonna see sketches and pictures that correlate to the story. I know nothing about this series whatsoever. I know that people are obsessed with Kaladin. I think that's how you say his name. My favorite book so far from Brandon Sanderson has been Warbreaker, excuse me. That was the first book I ever read from Brandon Sanderson. My #1 fave. My favorite male character is definitely going to be a tie between Kelsier and Elend. But I'm excited to dive into the Way of Kings. So obviously we needed the sequel, which is hefty. So I did not pre-order or order at all the Rhythm of War. I'm not going to order that until I get into Oathbringer, just because it's a massive book and I ain't got no shelf space. But yeah, I'm excited to dive into this. So this is the final book that I wanted to share with you all. So that is it for my book haul. I got pretty much a good amount of books in August. I don't think September is going to be as insane as far as like book buying or anything like that. But if you guys have read any of these books, let me know. If you have hauled these books, let me know in the comment section, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye.